Jesus explains Credulity and Superstition, a selection of examples and effects. False faith as a means for the manipulation of the peoples by the rulers and clergy. But I, the Lord, say to them, My dear daughters, as it was in Noah's time, so it will be then as well. Love will diminish and grow cold completely. The faith in a pure teaching of life and understanding of God, revealed from the heavens to the people, will be twisted into a most dark and dead superstition, brimming with lies and deceit. And the rulers will once again use the people like animals, to be slaughtered most unscrupulously and in cold blood, should they refuse to submit to the will of the beaming power without opposition. The powerful will plague and pressure the poor, and they will persecute and suppress every freer spirit by any means necessary. Thus shall a tribulation come upon the people, a tribulation as has never been on earth before. However, for the sake of the elect, the days will be shortened, for those who will be found among the poor. For where this is not the case, even the elect may perish. False faith as a way to generate money. Says Boris, You know as well as I do that the temple dung, the dung of the animals within the temple, sold as holy dung, possesses no power. You know that all such things are an abominable superstition, perfectly suitable for stifling any and all spark of better light among the weak people. And yet, with fire and sword, would you persecute him who, from among your co-religionists, would dare to speak openly about it, branding him a desecrator of the sanctuary. Superstition as justification for robbery and murder. But I, the Lord, now said, Friends, our corporal and spiritual midday meal has lasted about 4 hours today, and it is thus high time that we rise from the table. We shall look out to the ocean to see whether or not there is something happening that would be worth our full attention. Likewise, I draw the attention of all of you to the fact that, in half an hour, we will experience a total eclipse of the sun. However, may none of you let that bother you, for an eclipse such as this happens quite naturally. The moon, coming in from the evening west, about 98,000 hours travel away from the Earth, as a massive, opaque celestial body, will move across the sky in a straight line and cover the sun, thus preventing its light from falling upon a section of the Earth. The total eclipse will only last a few moments. Shortly thereafter will the sun reappear along the edge of the moon, and once again the Earth shall become brighter and brighter. During the total eclipse, however, you shall behold the beautiful winter constellations, which are otherwise impossible to be seen during summer. I tell you this to prevent any and all foolish fear from settling within you at the sight of such appearances, and to show you the complete and utter naturality thereof. Therefore, fear not when the appearance comes to pass. Simultaneously, we shall discover 3 merchant ships out on the sea. These must be brought ashore before the appearance commences, because otherwise wicked superstition will compel the ship's servants to throw an exceedingly beautiful and virtuous daughter of an honest Greek overboard, together with her father, who was accompanying her. False faith is not a good foundation. Says John, Indeed, friend, though of course it very much depends on what you believe. Should someone tell you a lie, and you firmly believe it, then even such a faith, however free of doubt, would have no effect. For one cannot construct a house upon a lacking foundation, one devoid of a truly firm core. Woe to the teachers of false doctrines. Says Paul, but the life of faith is love, and the living law is the order of love. Should faith be righteous, then all things are righteous. But if faith is false, then even love is false, and its order be as good as none at all. However, who is to blame should someone come to cling to a false faith originating from a false teaching? But I say, he that believes as he was taught, his faith is without falsity in him that believes as well, and he shall find grace. But woe to the teacher of false doctrine, for he is a doer of evil and a violator of the divine order. But not we, but the Lord alone may judge them. False faith as a means for the alienation of man from his Creator. The Lord says, I put the barometers to shame, which are more closely connected to the atmospheric air than the spirit of a calendar maker, together with his calendar. So, how much more then will the calendar maker, together with his calendar, be put to shame, especially should he be so foolish as to prophesy beautiful Easter vacations, and I then make them white. This weather forecast is followed by a number of other follies, with titles such as Remedies for the Weather, or Means by which one may drive away thunderstorms, either predicted in the calendars or already truly approaching. Among these means of driving away the weather, the so-called weather fairs in Roman Christendom are in first place. Should country priests wish to have quite a lot of weather fairs paid for, they need only get into amicable agreement with a calendar maker or other weather prophets, so they might prophesy quite a bit of lightning and hail. Then there will be weather fairs galore. Another remedy is the so-called field blessing, either by the local clergy, who, of course, is not all that powerful, or by a mendicant, whose blessing is said to be much more potent. A third remedy, particularly against already approaching thunderstorms, is primarily the so-called weather ringing, something that is once again gaining momentum at the moment. Then the shooting with consecrated powder. Then the smoking with so-called palm willows. The burning of consecrated candles. The putting up of the true blessing of Tobias. The sprinkling of the fields with holy water. And finally, in addition to some even more infamous follies, the erection of enormously tall weather crosses, painted red, which the weather witches are supposed to strike, falling down to the ground as a result. What horrible nonsense! But all of it originates from the weather prophets in particular, who themselves are considered to be a sort of sorcerers, whose opinions cause the common man to wholly refrain from considering God to be the weather maker, as well as from asking him for good weather. Now he considers the weather to be nothing but pure witchcraft, something he must counteract with anti-witchcraft means alone. And so it happens that one wedge drives the other, and one folly the other, though by the moniker of Omne ad majorem Dei gloriam, everything for the greater glory of God. But for this glory I give thanks. It may have once been pleasing to the brass, stone, and wooden gods, and may still be pleasing to the wooden, bronze, and occasional stone, but mostly painted images of saints. But I create nothing from such glorification. Behold, all this too belongs to the realm of visions, though certainly to the filthiest, and possesses as much reality as the skills of a conjurer or magician. Unfortunately, this sort of visionary shtick has a most significantly harmful effect on mankind. Namely, that the faith and trust in God of individuals whose hearts are still better is wholly diverted to mere calendars, weather fairs, weather ringing, etc. This is the influence of hell, taking possession of the minds of not only individuals, but of entire peoples and nations, and in a most shameful manner to boot. Not infrequently has this influence tempted them to enact truly disgraceful degeneracy against their poor and innocent brethren, especially in earlier times.